Noticed your money just doesn't stretch like it used to? The same cart of groceries costs more, your paycheck feels smaller, and nobody quite explains why. That invisible force is called inflation, and today you'll finally understand it. Inflation touches every dollar you earn, save, and spend, yet most people never learned how it really works. Once you do, you'll see why simply saving cash can quietly make you poorer, and what to do about it. Let's define it simply. Inflation is the gradual rise in the prices of goods and services over time. Put another way, it's the slow decline in the purchasing power of your money. Each dollar buys a little less than before. Take a clear example. If inflation is 3% a year, something that costs $100 today will cost about $103 next year. Your money didn't change, but what it can buy did. Now for the part that should grab your attention. If your money sits in cash earning nothing while prices rise 3% a year, you're effectively losing 3% of your wealth every single year without spending a dime. Picture a slow leak in a tire. The cash under your mattress or in a near-zero bank account looks safe, but its real value is quietly deflating year after year. Doing nothing isn't actually safe. It's a guaranteed slow loss. So what actually drives prices up? A few main forces. The first is too much demand. When lots of people have money and want to buy the same things, sellers can raise prices, and they do. The second is rising costs. When it gets more expensive to make and ship things because of pricier materials, labor, or fuel, businesses pass those higher costs on to you in the form of higher prices at the register. And the third big one is the money supply. When a lot of new money is created and flows into the economy, there are more dollars chasing the same amount of goods. More dollars per item generally means higher prices per item. How do we even track inflation? Governments use a tool called the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. They track the price of a typical basket of goods, things like food, housing, gas, and clothing, and watch how that total changes. When the news says inflation is at 4%, it means that basket of everyday stuff costs about 4% more than it did a year ago. It's an average, so your personal inflation may feel higher or lower depending on your life. Now, an important point that surprises people, a small amount of inflation is actually considered healthy. Most central banks aim for around 2% a year. It gently encourages spending and investing rather than hoarding cash. The real danger is when inflation runs hot, climbing fast and unpredictably. That erodes savings quickly, squeezes household budgets, and makes it hard for people and businesses to plan. High, runaway inflation is what truly damages an economy. So how do you actually protect yourself? The core idea is simple. You have to put your money somewhere. It can grow faster than inflation, so your real purchasing power rises instead of slowly bleeding away. This is the single biggest reason to invest, rather than just save. Historically, owning assets like stocks through low-cost index funds has grown wealth well above the rate of inflation over the long run. Your money outruns rising prices. Real estate can also help, since property values and rents have tended to rise alongside inflation. The key theme is owning things, productive assets that grow, rather than holding piles of cash that quietly shrink in value every year. For money you do need to keep in cash, like your emergency fund, at least park it in a high-yield savings account. It won't fully beat inflation, but earning 4 or 5% softens the blow far better than earning nothing. Now, a surprising twist most people miss. Inflation can actually help one group, borrowers with fixed-rate debt. If you owe a fixed amount, inflation slowly shrinks the real value of that debt over time. You repay it with cheaper future dollars. So a low fixed-rate mortgage can become easier to handle over the years as wages and prices rise around it. This is just one more reason to understand the difference between smart, low-rate debt and toxic high-interest debt. To see why inflation matters, look at what happens when it spirals. History has terrifying examples of hyperinflation, where prices doubled in days. In 1920s Germany, money became so worthless, people burned cash for heat and hauled wheelbarrows of bills to buy bread. More recently, countries like Zimbabwe and Venezuela saw prices rise so fast that savings were wiped out almost overnight. These are extreme cases, but they revealed the core lesson: money is only worth what it can buy, and that worth can vanish. Now for where inflation hits you most personally, your paycheck. If prices rise 4%, but your pay only rises 2%, you actually took a pay cut in real terms, even though the number on your check went up. This is why fighting for regular raises and growing your skills matters so much. To truly get ahead, your income needs to outpace inflation, not just match it. Standing still on pay means quietly falling behind every single year. Let me steer you clear of traps. Mistake 1. Believing cash in the bank is perfectly safe. In a high inflation world, idle cash is guaranteed to lose real value. Keep what you need liquid, but don't hoard far beyond that. Mistake 2. Panicking and making drastic moves every time inflation hits the headlines. Inflation is a long-term force. The answer is a steady, sensible plan of owning growing assets, not frantic reactions to scary news cycles. Mistake 3. Forgetting to factor inflation into your future goals. $1 million won't buy in 30 years what it buys today. When you plan for retirement, always assume prices will keep rising and aim higher to stay ahead. Let's lock it in. Inflation is the steady rise in prices and the slow erosion of your money's purchasing power. It's driven by demand, rising costs, and the money supply, and it's measured by the Consumer Price Index. A little inflation is normal, but it quietly punishes idle cash. The defense is to own assets that grow faster than inflation, like index funds and real estate, keep needed cash in a high-yield account, and plan for rising prices. Inflation isn't something you can stop, but it's absolutely something you can beat. Once you stop hoarding shrinking cash and start owning growing assets, inflation goes from a silent thief to just background noise on your path to wealth. If this finally made inflation make sense, give it a like, subscribe for the next money lesson, and share it with someone wondering why everything feels so expensive. What should we break down next? Tell me in the comments.